Have you ever wondered why, despite all the self-help advice out there, anxiety and sadness still seem to have such a firm grip on our lives?
What if I told you that the real solution has been around for thousands of years, hidden in the wisdom of ancient philosophers?
That's right. Stoicism offers practical, timeless strategies that challenge modern thinking about how we deal with life's most overwhelming emotions. And no, it's not about suppressing your feelings or pretending everything is fine. It's about mastering your mind in a way that few people ever learn.
In this video, we'll explore 10 Stoic principles that can transform how you handle anxiety and sadness, giving you tools that not only calm your mind but also lead to long-lasting peace.
We'll touch on powerful concepts like accepting what you can't control, focusing on your own path, and using adversity as fuel for growth. If you're tired of quick fixes that never last, get ready to dive deep into solutions that actually work. Curious to know how ancient wisdom can solve modern problems? Let's get started.
The great Stoic philosophers like Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius faced dilemmas that still trouble us today: anxiety, sadness, loneliness.
If you think these emotions are exclusive to our modern era, you're mistaken. They teach us that these feelings are part of the human experience. Epictetus, for instance, believed that the key to handling these challenges was self-control. After all, if even the greatest thinkers in history felt the weight of these emotions, why should we judge ourselves for feeling the same? When we look at the life of Marcus Aurelius, we see that, despite being the emperor of Rome, he wasn't immune to sadness and anxiety. Just imagine, ruling the largest empire in the world, and still dealing with your own vulnerabilities. He used daily meditation to reflect on the nature of life, a habit you can also adopt. Writing down your thoughts before bed, for example, can be a simple yet powerful practice to reduce anxiety and organize your mind. Seneca, another prominent Stoic, reminds us that even the most painful adversities are opportunities for learning. He didn't see sadness as something to be avoided, but rather an emotion that could be transformed into wisdom. And you? How can you turn your struggles into something productive? Maybe it's time to stop fighting your feelings and start using them as guides for self-awareness. Marcus Aurelius discovered something profound. Our thoughts shape our reality. When we allow anxiety and sadness to dominate our mind, it's as if we're wearing dark-tinted glasses, seeing everything through a negative lens. But here's the thing. Just as we can control our breathing, we can control our thoughts. Imagine waking up and choosing to focus on the opportunities the day brings, instead of dwelling on yesterday's failures. This shift in thinking might seem small, but it can dramatically change how we perceive the world. Many of us have fallen into the trap of spiraling thoughts. You know that moment when one negative thought leads to another, and soon, you're overwhelmed by a storm of worries? Aurelius would say, stop. He believed that by recognizing these patterns early, we can redirect our mind. One practical way to do this is by keeping a journal. When anxious thoughts arise, write them down. Sometimes, just seeing them on paper shows how manageable they really are. It's a simple exercise, but highly effective. This practice helps not only with anxiety but also with sadness. When we constantly focus on what's going wrong in our lives, it's easy to fall into despair. But by consciously shifting our thoughts to gratitude and possibilities, we break the cycle. So, ask yourself, how are your thoughts impacting your perception of the challenges you face? It's time to regain control, starting with the mind. Demetrius of Alexandria had a simple yet powerful message. Be kind to yourself. It's easy to be our own worst critic, especially when anxiety and sadness take hold. How often do we beat ourselves up over mistakes or judge ourselves harshly for things beyond our control? Demetrius would argue that this habit only deepens our suffering. By practicing self-compassion, we can ease the weight of those emotions. Think about it. If you wouldn't say something harsh to a friend in need, why say it to yourself? A practical way to implement this is by speaking to yourself as you would to a loved one. When anxiety creeps in, tell yourself, I'm doing the best I can. This isn't just a comforting thought, it's a reality check. Self-compassion doesn't mean avoiding responsibility. It means approaching yourself with understanding rather than criticism. One way to start is by acknowledging small wins, no matter how insignificant they may seem. Each positive step can help ease the burden of anxiety. Sadness often comes from feelings of inadequacy, from the belief that we aren't living up to expectations, our own or others. Demetrius would encourage us to release these unrealistic standards. Instead, he'd remind us that we are all imperfect, and that's okay.
When you give yourself permission to be human, the pressure lifts.
This doesn't mean giving up on growth. It means recognizing that growth happens through patience, not perfection. Taking a walk, doing something creative, or even pausing for a moment of reflection can be acts of self-kindness. Sometimes, all you need is to step away from the noise, both external and internal. Demetrius understood that peace of mind often comes not from grand achievements but from moments of quiet acceptance. Are there small ways in which you can be kinder to yourself today? It's important to note that being your own friend isn't about indulging every impulse or excusing harmful behaviors. It's about balancing accountability with kindness. When you fall short of a goal, recognize the effort you put in. Celebrate progress, however small, instead of focusing solely on the outcome. By doing so, you create a more compassionate dialogue with yourself, one that fosters healing rather than harm. Imagine speaking to a friend who is struggling with anxiety or sadness. What advice would you give them? Now, try turning that same advice inward. You deserve the same level of care and understanding. This shift in mindset can be transformative, helping to break the cycle of negative self-talk that often fuels anxiety.
If you start viewing yourself as your own ally, you can face challenges with a stronger mindset.
Instead of being weighed down by criticism, you'll find resilience through compassion. It's a skill that takes practice, but each time you choose kindness over judgment, you strengthen your mental and emotional well-being. After all, the person you spend the most time with is yourself.
Why not make that relationship one of trust, support, and understanding?
Start today by giving yourself the same compassion you'd offer to a close friend.
Seneca, one of the most prominent Stoic philosophers, taught that nurturing the mind is just as essential as caring for the body.
While we often focus on physical health, mental well-being can easily be overlooked, especially in times of anxiety and sadness. Seneca believed that regular mental maintenance, such as self-reflection and mindfulness, was key to living a balanced life. After all, how can we expect to handle life's challenges if our mind is weighed down with stress and worry? One of the simplest ways to take care of your mental health is by engaging in practices that calm the mind. For example, walking in nature is not just a physical activity. It can also clear the mental clutter. Seneca would often retreat to quiet places to think and reflect, a practice we can all benefit from. If you're feeling overwhelmed by anxiety or sadness, try stepping outside, breathing deeply, and letting the natural surroundings bring a sense of peace. Deep breathing exercises are another tool for reducing anxiety and promoting mental clarity. When anxiety strikes, our body often reacts with shallow, rapid breaths, which only heightens the sense of panic. By focusing on slow, deep breaths, you can signal to your mind that it's safe to relax. Seneca might not have had modern breathing techniques, but he certainly understood the value of finding calm in the storm. In addition to physical practices, mental habits play a huge role in managing anxiety and sadness. Seneca advised that we should regularly check in with our thoughts, identifying which ones serve us and which only add to our stress. Journaling, for instance, can be a powerful way to organize and release anxious thoughts. Writing things down can help us see our worries from a new perspective, much like Seneca's practice of daily reflection. A balanced mind also thrives on positive input.
Seneca encouraged surrounding oneself with uplifting influences, whether it be books, people, or experiences.
Today, this could mean reducing time spent on social media or limiting exposure to negative news, both of which can feed anxiety and sadness. Instead, fill your mental space with things that inspire and uplift you. What are some books or podcasts that bring positivity into your life? Taking care of your mental health isn't just about managing stress. It's about actively nurturing a mindset that helps you thrive. Activities like meditation, yoga, or simply taking a moment of silence each day can contribute to long-term mental well-being. Seneca would argue that even a few minutes of dedicated mental care each day can create a ripple effect of peace and clarity throughout your life. Sometimes, taking care of your mental health means seeking help from others. Whether it's talking to a friend or seeking professional support, opening up about your struggles is not a sign of weakness. It's a step toward healing. Seneca often wrote about the importance of companionship and shared wisdom in overcoming life's difficulties. You don't have to face anxiety and sadness alone. Ultimately, the goal is not to eliminate anxiety and sadness altogether. They are part of being human, but to manage them in a way that allows you to live fully. By practicing regular mental care, you'll find that moments of peace and clarity become more frequent, helping you navigate life's challenges with greater resilience. As Seneca would say, it's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. So, how will you spend your time today? Perhaps it's time to prioritize your mental well-being. One of the core teachings of Stoicism is the idea of accepting reality as it is. The Stoics believed that much of our anxiety and sadness comes from resisting the inevitable, wanting things to be different from how they truly are. Epictetus, in particular, emphasized that while we cannot control the events that happen to us, we can control how we respond. This acceptance doesn't mean giving up or being passive, but rather acknowledging that certain things are beyond our control and learning to focus on what we can change. Think about the frustrations and anxieties that often arise when life doesn't go as planned. Maybe a job opportunity didn't work out, or a relationship ended unexpectedly. It's natural to feel sadness in those moments, but the Stoics would encourage us to accept these situations as they are, rather than wasting energy fighting against them. By embracing reality, we free ourselves from the constant struggle to change the unchangeable. A practical way to start accepting reality is to practice mindfulness. When faced with disappointment or frustration, take a step back and observe the situation without judgment. Ask yourself, is this something I can control? If the answer is no, then shift your focus to what you can influence: your thoughts, your reactions, and your next steps. This mindset, rooted in acceptance, helps to reduce anxiety and sadness because it allows you to let go of what's beyond your power. Accepting reality also means recognizing that life is full of uncertainty. We often feel anxious when we try to predict or control the future, but the truth is, many things are out of our hands. The Stoics remind us that uncertainty is not something to fear. It's a natural part of existence. By embracing this uncertainty, you release the need for constant control, allowing yourself to live more freely in the present moment. This practice doesn't mean suppressing your emotions. The Stoics understood that sadness and anxiety are natural responses to life's challenges. However, they believed that we should work through these emotions rather than being consumed by them. For instance, if you're dealing with sadness over a personal loss, allow yourself to grieve, but also remember that this experience is a part of life. In time, acceptance will help you move forward with resilience. One powerful tool for cultivating acceptance is the Stoic practice of negative visualization. This involves imagining worst-case scenarios, not to dwell on them, but to prepare yourself mentally for life's inevitable ups and downs. When you consider what could go wrong, you're less likely to be shocked or devastated when challenges arise. This mindset helps you to approach life's uncertainties with a sense of calm and readiness, reducing the hold that anxiety and sadness have over you. Another way to embrace acceptance is to reflect on the transient nature of life. Marcus Aurelius often meditated on the fact that everything, including our struggles, is temporary. By acknowledging that nothing lasts forever, we can approach difficulties with a sense of peace, knowing that they, too, will pass. How often have you looked back on a stressful situation and realized it wasn't as overwhelming as it seemed at the time? That's the power of perspective. Finally, acceptance doesn't mean avoiding action. On the contrary, it frees you to focus on what truly matters. When you stop resisting reality, you can channel your energy into making the most of the present moment. The Stoics would advise asking yourself, what can I do right now to improve my situation? Often, the answer lies not in changing external circumstances, but in changing your attitude and approach. The next time you're faced with a challenge, pause and consider what you can control. By practicing acceptance, you'll find that the weight of anxiety and sadness begins to lift, replaced by a deeper sense of peace. Seneca introduced the idea of euthymia, which is the concept of staying true to your own path without getting distracted by external comparisons or expectations. In today's world, where social media constantly showcases others' successes, it's easy to fall into the trap of comparison. When we compare ourselves to others, anxiety and sadness can creep in, making us feel inadequate or behind in life. Seneca's wisdom reminds us that the only path we need to focus on is our own. When you find yourself anxious or sad because of what others are doing, stop and ask, am I living according to my values, or am I trying to meet someone else's expectations? This reflection can bring clarity and calm to your mind. The truth is, everyone has their own journey, and focusing on someone else's progress only distracts you from your own growth. Like a runner who loses momentum by looking at their competitors, we lose focus when we care too much about others' opinions. One practical way to focus on your own path is by setting personal goals that align with your values. If anxiety comes from feeling unaccomplished, it may be time to reassess what success means to you. For instance, instead of chasing societal milestones, think about what brings you joy and fulfillment. Whether it's learning a new skill, spending time with loved ones, or pursuing a passion, your path is unique. Seneca believed that staying true to yourself is the key to finding peace amidst life's chaos. Another common distraction is the fear of judgment. Many of us hold back from pursuing our dreams because we're worried about what others might think. Seneca would advise us to ignore these voices and focus instead on what truly matters, our personal journey. After all, the opinions of others often say more about them than about you. By freeing yourself from the fear of judgment, you open up space for growth and authenticity. Seneca's concept of euthymia also speaks to the importance of pacing yourself. In a world that glorifies hustle and constant productivity, it's easy to feel anxious if you're not always moving forward at full speed. But Seneca teaches that life isn't a race, it's a journey. Taking time to rest, reflect, and recalibrate is not a sign of weakness but of wisdom. By focusing on your path at your own pace, you give yourself the grace to grow naturally, without the pressure to meet anyone else's timeline. Imagine you're walking along a trail in the mountains. There will always be people ahead of you and behind you, but none of them are on the exact same path as you. This is a metaphor for life. Everyone's journey looks different, and that's okay. Seneca reminds us that by focusing on the present step, instead of worrying about the entire mountain, we can reduce anxiety and embrace each moment with clarity. Focusing on your own path also means accepting that there will be ups and downs. Just because you face challenges doesn't mean you're on the wrong track. Seneca believed that adversity was a part of life and should be embraced as a chance to grow. When anxiety or sadness arises from setbacks, remember that they are temporary and often necessary for personal development. Your path may twist and turn, but as long as you remain true to yourself, you are moving in the right direction. One practical exercise to help you focus on your own path is daily reflection. At the end of each day, ask yourself, did I make choices today that align with my values? This simple question can keep you grounded and prevent you from getting lost in comparisons or distractions. Over time, this practice will help you build a life that is more authentic and less burdened by outside pressures. By focusing on your own journey, you not only reduce anxiety and sadness, but you also cultivate a sense of inner peace and fulfillment. Seneca's wisdom reminds us that true contentment comes from within, not from keeping up with others. Marcus Aurelius often encouraged us to look beyond the immediate and broaden our perspective. He believed that many of the things that cause us anxiety and sadness seem much smaller when viewed in the grand scheme of the universe. Think about it. How many times have you been consumed by a worry or fear, only to look back later and realize it wasn't as big as it felt in the moment? By expanding your view, you can diminish the power that anxiety and sadness hold over you. One way to practice broadening your perspective is to think about how temporary our problems really are. The Stoics believed that everything, including our struggles, is fleeting. Marcus Aurelius would reflect on the vastness of time and the smallness of individual worries. By recognizing that even the most pressing issues are just blips on the radar of life, we can approach them with a calmer, more rational mindset. What might feel overwhelming today is often forgotten in the long run. This shift in perspective can be particularly helpful when dealing with anxiety. For instance, if you're anxious about an upcoming event or deadline, ask yourself, will this matter in a year? 5 years? 10? Chances are, the answer is no. By placing your anxiety within a larger context, you reduce its impact on your mental state. This doesn't mean dismissing your concerns, but it does help to put them into a more manageable frame. Another way to broaden your perspective is by considering the lives of others. When we're stuck in our own sadness or anxiety, it's easy to feel like we're the only ones struggling. But by remembering that everyone faces challenges, we gain a sense of solidarity and compassion. Marcus Aurelius would reflect on the shared human experience, reminding himself that his problems were not unique. This realization can help us feel less isolated and more connected to those around us. Broader thinking also allows us to focus on what truly matters in life. Marcus Aurelius often contemplated the insignificance of material wealth, fame, and external success in the grand scheme of things. Instead, he believed that our virtues, like patience, courage, and kindness, are what truly last. So, when sadness or anxiety strikes, ask yourself, am I worrying about something that will truly matter in the end? If the answer is no, perhaps it's time to shift your focus toward more meaningful pursuits. In our daily lives, we often get bogged down by small frustrations or setbacks, allowing them to dominate our thoughts. But when you zoom out, these minor inconveniences start to lose their grip. Marcus Aurelius would remind himself that life is too short to spend it fretting over things that don't ultimately matter. The next time you feel anxiety creeping in, try pausing for a moment and asking yourself, is this worth my peace of mind? A broader perspective also helps when dealing with sadness. It's natural to feel sad when things don't go our way, but by stepping back and looking at the bigger picture, we can find comfort in knowing that our current pain is part of a larger journey. Marcus Aurelius would often remind himself that life is full of cycles, good times and bad, highs and lows. By accepting these cycles, we can face sadness with more grace and understanding, knowing that it, too, will pass. Finally, broadening your perspective can lead to greater gratitude. When we take the time to appreciate the bigger picture, we often realize how much we have to be thankful for, even amidst challenges. Marcus Aurelius believed that gratitude was essential for a content life. By focusing on what's good and enduring, we can shift our minds away from anxiety and sadness, finding peace in the present moment. One of the most profound lessons from Stoicism is the idea that everything is temporary. Whether it's pain, joy, success, or failure, the Stoics believe that accepting the transient nature of life can help us face anxiety and sadness with more resilience. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that glory and fame are fleeting, as are the hardships we endure. Nothing lasts forever, and in that knowledge, we can find a sense of peace. When we're anxious or sad, it's easy to feel like those emotions will never end. But the truth is, even the darkest moments pass with time. Imagine a storm that feels relentless while it's happening, but eventually fades, leaving behind calm skies. Life works in much the same way. By reminding ourselves that everything is temporary, we can reduce the intensity of our anxiety and sadness, knowing that these feelings are part of a passing phase. This perspective is especially helpful when dealing with setbacks or failures. When something doesn't go as planned, it's natural to feel disappointment. But the Stoics would argue that failure is just a temporary state, not a permanent label. Marcus Aurelius would reflect on how time erases both success and failure, making them less important than they seem in the moment. By embracing the temporary nature of failure, we can move forward with less fear and more courage. The same goes for success. Many of us chase after accomplishments, thinking they will bring lasting happiness. But the Stoics knew that even success is fleeting. Achievements may bring joy in the short term, but they are not the foundation of long-term peace.
Marcus Aurelius encouraged focusing on inner virtues, like patience and kindness, because they are more enduring than external rewards.
So, when anxiety or sadness stems from a desire for success, remember that true fulfillment comes from within. Reflecting on the transient nature of life can also help us appreciate the present moment. If everything is temporary, then every moment becomes precious, including the ones filled with sadness or anxiety. Instead of resisting these emotions, we can learn to sit with them, knowing they will eventually pass. This doesn't mean we should dwell in sadness, but rather that we should accept it as part of the human experience. In doing so, we reduce its power over us. The Stoics often practiced memento mori, or the reflection on mortality, as a way to remind themselves of life's fleeting nature. By contemplating the fact that we all have limited time, they were able to focus on what truly mattered. This reflection might seem morbid, but in reality, it helps to prioritize what's important and let go of what isn't. When anxiety strikes over trivial matters, asking yourself, "Will this matter at the end of my life?" can bring instant clarity. Sadness, too, takes on a different light when viewed through the lens of impermanence.
While it's important to honor your emotions, the Stoics would encourage you to remember that sadness, like everything else,
will not last forever. By embracing this fact, you allow yourself to feel the emotion without letting it take over. As Marcus Aurelius often noted, time heals even the deepest wounds. Finally, the idea that everything is temporary can bring a sense of freedom. When you understand that nothing is permanent, you stop holding on to things so tightly. This includes not only material possessions but also worries, regrets, and even relationships. Letting go of the need for permanence helps you navigate life with more ease, knowing that change is inevitable and part of the natural flow of existence. So, when anxiety or sadness feels overwhelming, remind yourself, this too shall pass.
Life is constantly changing, and with that change comes the opportunity for growth and renewal.
The Stoics believed that adversity is not something to be feared, but rather embraced as an opportunity for growth. Epictetus famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters."
Life will inevitably present challenges, from personal setbacks to moments of deep sadness or overwhelming anxiety.
But it's in these moments that we are given the chance to strengthen our character. The Stoics saw adversity as the forge in which resilience is built. When we encounter difficulties, our first instinct is often to avoid or resist them.
Anxiety, in particular, can cause us to retreat from challenges, fearing failure or discomfort.
However, the Stoics encourage us to face these challenges head-on, knowing that each obstacle is a stepping stone toward personal development. For example, consider how professional athletes train. They don't improve by avoiding hard workouts. They grow stronger by pushing through them. In the same way, adversity strengthens our mental and emotional muscles. Sadness, too, is part of adversity, and the Stoics didn't shy away from it. They understood that sadness is a natural response to life's hardships, but they also believed that it doesn't define us. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on how facing sadness with courage and acceptance helps to diminish its hold over us.
Rather than allowing sadness to consume you, what if you saw it as a temporary state, one that ultimately offers wisdom and insight?
One practical way to approach adversity is to break it down into manageable parts. When faced with a daunting challenge, anxiety can make the problem seem larger than life. But by tackling one piece at a time, the task becomes less overwhelming. The Stoics would remind us that no problem is insurmountable if we approach it step by step.
Whether you're dealing with financial struggles, relationship issues, or personal setbacks, breaking the problem into smaller tasks can help you face it with more confidence.
Adversity also teaches us patience. The Stoics believed that good things come not to those who avoid difficulties, but to those who endure them. When you face a challenging situation, instead of rushing to fix it or make it go away, allow yourself the time to work through it. This patience can reduce the anxiety that comes from wanting quick solutions. Epictetus often reminded his students that setbacks are part of life's natural rhythm, and learning to accept them with grace leads to greater peace of mind. Consider this: every time you've faced adversity in the past, you've survived. In fact, You've likely grown stronger because of it. Reflect on a time when you overcame a hardship. How did that experience shape you? The Stoics believed that by reflecting on past successes in the face of adversity, we can build the confidence to handle future challenges. When anxiety or sadness arises, remember that you've been here before, and you have the strength to get through it again. Adversity also teaches us to let go of control. Often, anxiety stems from the desire to control outcomes, but the Stoics remind us that many things are outside of our control. What we can control, however, is how we respond. By focusing on our reactions instead of the situation itself, we regain a sense of power and reduce the feeling of helplessness. Epictetus would say that while we cannot change external events, we can always choose how we interpret and respond to them. Facing adversity also opens the door to unexpected opportunities. How many times have you faced a setback, only to realize later that it led to something better? The Stoics believed that every difficulty carries within it the seeds of growth. Anxiety and sadness may cloud our vision in the moment, but by trusting that adversity can lead to positive outcomes, we can face challenges with a sense of hope rather than dread. Ultimately, the Stoics would argue that adversity is a part of life that we cannot avoid, but it's also a gift. It's through adversity that we discover our strength, build resilience, and develop a deeper understanding of ourselves. So, the next time you're confronted with a challenge, remember, this is not the end, but rather a beginning. One of the most encouraging aspects of Stoic philosophy is the belief that every day is a fresh start. Marcus Aurelius wrote extensively about the idea that each morning brings a new opportunity to live better than the day before. No matter what anxieties or sadness plagued you yesterday, today is a new chance to reset and approach life with renewed energy and perspective. This mindset shifts our focus from dwelling on past mistakes to embracing the present moment. When we feel weighed down by sadness or anxiety, it can be easy to believe that things will never change. But the Stoics remind us that change is a constant part of life. Just as no 2 days are the same, our thoughts and emotions also have the capacity to evolve. Imagine waking up each morning with the intention of making small improvements, whether it's being more patient, more compassionate, or simply more mindful. The beauty of this philosophy is that it's not about perfection, but about progress. A practical way to embrace each day as a new opportunity is to create a morning ritual that sets a positive tone. Marcus Aurelius would begin his day by meditating on the values he wanted to embody: kindness, courage, patience. You could do the same by taking a few moments in the morning to reflect on your goals and how you want to approach the day. Whether it's through meditation, journaling, or simply sitting quietly with your thoughts, starting the day with intention can reduce anxiety and help you face challenges with a clearer mind. The Stoics also believed in the power of letting go of yesterday's burdens. It's easy to carry the weight of past mistakes or missed opportunities, but this only adds to our sadness and anxiety. Marcus Aurelius encouraged us to treat each day as a blank slate, a new chance to act with virtue and wisdom. If you made a mistake yesterday, forgive yourself and move forward. If you didn't accomplish everything you set out to do, today offers a new chance to try again. This philosophy can be particularly helpful when dealing with personal setbacks. Maybe you didn't handle a stressful situation as well as you'd hoped, or perhaps you've been feeling stuck in sadness or anxiety. The Stoics remind us that every sunrise brings a new opportunity to make different choices. You are not defined by your past actions. Instead, you are shaped by how you choose to act today. Each morning is a gift, an invitation to grow, improve, and face life's challenges with renewed strength. Sadness, in particular, often makes us feel like we're stuck in a cycle. But when you wake up each day with the mindset that it's a fresh start, you break that cycle. The Stoics believe that by focusing on what we can do right now, we take control of our narrative. Even small steps, getting out of bed, taking a walk, reaching out to a friend, can make a huge difference in shifting our mood and mindset. What small action can you take today to move toward a brighter outlook? Anxiety, too, loses its grip when we adopt this philosophy. Instead of worrying about what might happen in the future, the Stoics encourage us to focus on the present moment. By taking each day as it comes, we reduce the overwhelming feeling of uncertainty. Marcus Aurelius would often remind himself that he could handle whatever challenges the day might bring because he was focused on the now, not on a distant, unpredictable future. Each new day is also an opportunity to reconnect with your values.
The Stoics believed that a life lived according to virtue, patience, courage, kindness, was the most fulfilling kind of life.
So, when you wake up, ask yourself, how can I live out my values today?
Whether it's through helping someone in need, staying calm in the face of adversity, or practicing gratitude,
each day offers countless opportunities to live with purpose. So, as you greet the morning, remember that today is a new beginning.
Whatever happened yesterday is behind you.
Today, you have the chance to make better choices, to live with intention, and to move forward with hope.
The Stoics placed great importance on controlling emotions, particularly because they believed that unchecked emotions often lead to poor decisions and unnecessary suffering.
Epictetus famously taught that it's not external events that disturb us, but rather our perception of them. This teaching is especially relevant when dealing with anxiety and sadness. The more we allow our emotions to control us, the more distorted our view of reality becomes.
But by learning to observe and manage these emotions, we regain control over our minds and actions.
One of the first steps in controlling emotions is recognizing that they are temporary. Just like a passing storm, emotions like anxiety or sadness may feel overwhelming in the moment, but they are not permanent.
By acknowledging this, you create distance between yourself and the emotion.
Epictetus would encourage us to pause and reflect before reacting, giving ourselves time to assess the situation objectively. This simple act of slowing down can help prevent impulsive reactions driven by heightened emotions. Anxiety, in particular, often feeds off of our worst-case scenarios. We imagine everything that could go wrong and allow these fears to dictate our actions. But the Stoics would advise us to look at the situation with clear eyes. Is the fear grounded in reality, or is it an exaggeration fueled by emotion? By questioning the validity of anxious thoughts, we can begin to defuse them. A practical exercise for this is writing down your fears and then assessing how likely they are to actually happen. Often, the act of writing helps us see our worries more objectively. Sadness, too, can cloud our judgment, making everything seem darker than it really is. The Stoics remind us that emotions are part of being human, but they don't have to control us. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on the fact that while we cannot avoid feeling emotions, we can choose how to respond to them. Instead of letting sadness pull you into inaction, use it as a signal to take care of yourself. Whether it's reaching out to a friend or practicing self-care, choosing to act despite sadness can prevent it from taking over. Another way to manage emotions is by practicing mindfulness. The Stoics were early proponents of living in the present moment, understanding that much of our emotional turmoil comes from dwelling on the past or fearing the future. By focusing on the now, we reduce the power that anxiety and sadness have over us. Marcus Aurelius often meditated on the importance of staying grounded in the present, reminding himself that the only moment that truly matters is the one in front of us. What can you do today to stay present and avoid being consumed by worries or regrets? Controlling emotions doesn't mean suppressing them. The Stoics believe that all emotions serve a purpose, but it's how we handle them that matters. For example, feeling anxious before a big event is natural. It's your body's way of preparing you for something important. The key is not to let that anxiety spiral into panic. Instead, acknowledge the feeling, use it as fuel for preparation, and then release it.
In this way, you control the emotion rather than letting it control you.
One practical tool the Stoics used for managing emotions was cognitive distancing.
This involves viewing a situation as if you were an outsider looking in.
Imagine advising a friend who is feeling anxious or sad. What would you tell them? Often, we are much kinder and more rational when giving advice to others than we are to ourselves.
By stepping outside of your emotions and viewing them from a distance, you can approach the situation with more clarity and less emotional charge.
Finally, controlling emotions is about cultivating resilience.
The Stoics believed that life would always present challenges, and it's our ability to remain calm and composed in the face of adversity that defines our strength.
Epictetus taught that we should prepare ourselves mentally for difficult situations, not by fearing them, but by building our emotional resilience. This way, when anxiety or sadness strikes, we are better equipped to handle it with grace and composure. By learning to control your emotions, you not only reduce the impact of anxiety and sadness, but also create a sense of inner peace that allows you to navigate life's challenges with greater ease. All the lessons from Stoicism lead back to a central theme: staying on your own path. Whether it's handling anxiety, sadness, or the challenges life throws your way, the Stoics believe that our greatest strength comes from staying focused on what truly matters, our inner virtues and the choices we make every day. Everything else is fleeting, temporary, and often out of our control. By applying the Stoic principles we've explored, accepting reality, controlling your emotions, focusing on your journey, and embracing adversity, you are better equipped to face the unpredictability of life. Each day is an opportunity to practice these teachings, to refine your approach, and to build the resilience needed to navigate life's ups and downs. The next time you find yourself overwhelmed by anxiety or sadness, remember the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca. They faced their own struggles, yet found peace by staying true to their philosophy. You have the power to do the same. So, after learning these powerful Stoic principles, the question is, how will you apply them to your life? Will you let anxiety and sadness control you, or will you take the reins and start living with more clarity and strength? Remember, the key to transformation lies in taking action. These ideas won't work unless you put them into practice. Start small, whether it's journaling your thoughts, focusing on what you can control, or simply reminding yourself that every day is a new chance. What's stopping you from making these changes today? Don't wait for the perfect moment to start living better. The perfect moment is right now. Challenge yourself to embrace these lessons, and watch as your mindset shifts from one of fear to one of resilience. And here's one last question. Who will you become when anxiety and sadness no longer have power over you? If you found this video helpful and want to continue exploring these life-changing concepts, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. There's so much more to learn, and I'm excited to continue this journey with you.